Positive vibration. Good day to everyone. This is Major. Welcome, concern versus in conjunction with news, facts, and comments. Major TV and a Cody speaks. Let me bring on my supporting cast. Sister Cody, how you doing, sister?
Shalom, brother, and shalom, family. I'm feeling fantastic.
And what about you? How you doing, sister Jimmy?
Oh, I'm blessed, truly blessed.
We have a very, very powerful discussion we're going to talk about. I want everybody to come in. Please like and share. Subscribe if you're new to the channel, notification bell. We dropping content weekly. Like it. Please like it. We trying to grow our platforms. We trying to get the message out. And without further ado, we're going to talk about white is right, return of Jim Crow, workplace discrimination in America. And I'm going to let Cody take over from here.
That's right. We're going to talk about how there's a rise of workplace discrimination around America. And as I was doing my research, found out it's going on over there in the UK as well. And so I'm going to lean on Ms. Ingemine to help me navigate through that part of the discussion. But as far as in the United States, I found that Black women on the workforce is being looked at as being belligerent, contentious, and angry. Those are the type of personality traits that they're assigning to Black women on the job. And those are assumptions that are made about Black women that are not necessarily assigned to women of other nations. And so, and then in addition to that, 1 in every 4 Black employees being said to have been felt that they were being racially discriminated. So when we talk about this current climate in the climate of post President Trump, and we hear from different segments of the American society, whether they're white or Black or Asian, and we hear this sentiment that discrimination is no longer a thing. But here yet we have these staggering numbers, and we have 2 individuals that's going to be joining us momentarily that have attested to racial discrimination happening right now today. And we balance those 2 things. It makes us wonder, how do we bridge that gap to have everyone understand that racism is a thing, not necessarily racism. Discrimination in the workplace is a thing that needs to be attention needs to be brought attention to it, because if individuals are losing their jobs, then now people are being economically displaced. They're no longer breadwinners, either if you're a male breadwinner or you're a female breadwinner. Because of the color of your skin, you're now being placed at the bottom of the economic pole, just because someone believes that you're not capable of doing your job because you're Black. And so I want to bring up our guest that we that we invited on to talk about it. We have Miss Lady Justice. I want to bring her up. She's going to do a very brief introduction, and then we're going to bring up our next guest. Miss Lady Justice, thank you for joining us so much. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Lady Justice. I am a community advocate, and I am passionate about accountability in the workplace and in the community. And I'm just here and excited to join this conversation with you all.
Thank you so much for joining us. And then we have Miss AJ. Miss AJ, come on up and tell us why you're here.
Hi, my name is AJ. I am a woman in construction for over 20 years in a male, white male dominated industry, and I'm glad I can. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. So, Major, I'm going to throw the ball in your court since you're the only male figure here. So, when I was doing my research, I came across an article that says that there's less than 4% of the entire, what we say, corporate world as executives. There's only 4% that represent the African American community, a so-called Black community. What's your take on why we don't see more of an African American presence at the executive level?
Well, we already know that it is from discrimination and racism. Thanks to a bunch of black lawyers like Johnny Cochran that challenged the IBM, the Coca-Cola, and whatnot, about hiring black executives. It was showing where you had black people that have been working for these large corporations for so long, got the degrees, the credentials, the experience. And here, a white guy, come along with a college education as well, be there a year, trained by the black guy, and get promoted to a higher level than him or even executive position. And that's where the onslaught of challenging, corporate America. But it's a thing whereas the whole time, like I always say, nothing ever given to us. We have to fight for it, right? So when you look at how Thurgood Marshall and them challenged the government and this race relations in reference to equality and whatnot, it's always been an issue. But to answer that question simply, is no surprise. It's because of discrimination.
Anybody else wanted to join in on that, or can explain why is a male dominated atmosphere when it comes to the corporate world and it's dominated by white males? Ladies, don't be shy. Oh my goodness, where y'all at?
I think that they're comfortable with their count as it's what they know. So it's difficult to kind of get out of the box of what you know. These guys went to school with one another. They grew up in the same neighborhoods. So for them to defy that structure, that's a difficult move for them. It's just an uncomfortable spot. And that's why we have these diversity programs in corporate America. They're just not really being used properly.
I mean, I'm gonna just say this, right? Like, whether they went to school or not, it's a culture whereas white gonna support white. You know what I'm saying? Point blank. And it's just a long
Right.
standing history, so they don't even have to know each other. They on code like that, right? Well, I'm in the transportation business, right? And I can see white men go off on other white people, and they will not call the police or nothing at warehouses. If a black person go off, they calling the police. You know, it's just like when you go to like warehouses, right? And you see the engineers, you see the electricians, you see everybody that's in this warehouse or in this big plant. You see the whites with the better positions, higher positions, and you see blacks, basically doing labor's work. You know what I'm saying? Not really anything skilled and what have you. So, they're gonna look out for them. That's why it's been a big issue about us looking out for us. Because as much as we try to say, well, there's laws in place and so forth, so on, white people have not been respecting that at all. You know what I'm saying? And for those who do call themselves trying to abide by, they're just trying to get a certain percentage to make it seem like everything is all right. But all the while, their system's still working. For dominant black neighborhoods, you have white people running it, and you have nothing but black people working underneath them, and it's just not right. But that's a culture of discrimination and racism that just exists in this country.
I believe what we refer to that here in the South as is the good old boy system.
Yes, yes, April. I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah, and it's very real. So I agree with what both of you all are saying. And when we look at from the educational part, the fraternities, they do, it's like a brotherhood that is established, and I think that is designed that way, and that's why even for Black fraternities, they do when they go out into the workforce, they support each other, and you see them advance a lot further than if you're not part of that circle or whatever. But I kind of feel like that's part of the problem too with the diversity, equity, and inclusion, is that what we see is more of those people that fit into those fraternities. Those are the ones that's getting access to these other positions, and that's not representing most of us. And so right. The majority of us are still being left out. But that's just my take on that.
My issue with everything, right? Because I have a professor at Clark University I'm cool with. I never completed, that's never hit him up. I never completed. It was a bunch of professors. They got the Southern, they have a Southern conference thing, but I forgot the exact name, but W. Du Bois I think it's a research center he started, and it was a long piece on it. I had been reading it, right? And it's sad that we have to explain to them, as I'm reading this piece, right, this thesis, about why we need somebody in government, why we need somebody in the police department, why we need somebody in corporate America that's melanated, that's Black, right? It's sad that in 2024, we still writing and explaining history of how we've been disenfranchised, discriminated against, excluded, you know. We have to logically explain to them something they already know about why inclusion is so important. And I find it just sad that we have to, in this day and age, have to explain it, you know. And I just show you how large a gap we are from really coming together and making sense as being humans and doing the right thing.
Can I say, even when Black people get their roles on merit, and I don't know if this happens in the US, but it's happening more and more here, when they get their roles on merit, they're being referred to as a DEI tick box. And to me, that is totally denigrating the work and the intellect of the person who actually has the role. So I'll give you an example. We have an MP here, a member of parliament called Diane Abbott, who was racially abused quite severely most recently. And you'll go into comment sections on various social media platforms, and they're calling this lady, who was educated at Cambridge, one of the foremost top universities in the world, as a DEI tick box. So basically saying she has no right there, and she got there only through favoritism, basically. Now, for me, that is upsetting, because this woman has worked hard. She'd gained a degree from one of the top universities in this country, but yet they're still denigrating her intellect and her right to be in a quite senior position in the House of Commons as a member of Parliament.
All I can tell you is that diversity within the universities are actively being shut out by several states. I shared with you guys the article where I believe it was like 13 states have already passed. 12 states have already passed laws whereby they're banning diversity standards in colleges. And so colleges are the gateway to corporate America, basically. And so if they're saying that you cannot get into these corporate positions by going into you can't get into these corporate positions because you're not being able to get into these universities, then they're going to no longer have to deal with this on the job because you're not going to be there. So they know what they're doing, and they're doing it very strategically. And as of right now, they have a total of 82 bills that was introduced, and 13 has final legislation approval, but 33 has failed. So maybe we're turning the tables on how America feels about discrimination. Now, this is at the college level, mind you. But like I said, this college thing feeds into the corporate America. Same kind of good old boy camaraderie through the fraternities and whatnot. That's where it's established on the college level. So are we turning the tables? Since 33 of those states have already tabled and are not going to pass those type of legislation.
This the crazy part of Cody. They've been fighting for years to destroy affirmative action, right? Which, if you look at it, is synonymous with the inclusion, thing, right? So it's like you're fighting against the wave. They already shot affirmative action down, because of the fact that they was trying to say that they putting black people that just because of race and what have you. And for the most part, that's true, right? And remember the new black justice, Justice Jackson broke it down, and I shared it on my platform, AT Let's Talk, where she was talking about, well, yeah, this what affirmative action was for. She wrote in dissent when they had they decided to overturn or what have that case dealing with that, right? It was saying because of how what happened with slavery and after slavery, Jim Crow and stuff like that. She wrote a very eloquent dissent on it, right? Or excuse me, it wasn't a dissent. It was a statement she made in the speech, but it was so deep that it got some recognition, right? But here, if they have already killed affirmative action, what make we think? What do we? How we think about the fact that now we talking about inclusion and this, that, and other, we breaking all this down and what have you. But you shot down affirmative action that represented that. So it's a contradiction, and we fighting against the wave. Because it seems like soon as we fight to get something over here, they turn around over here, design something to take that away. But it's sad that we still having these discussions and stuff, and this stuff still going on. When you get through, I want to share some. I want to share my screen about a discrimination case, a class action against Walmart. Right, got a whole bunch of cases dealing with discrimination. Right, but this particular case, and I'm about to show you how strange it is to even prove discrimination against these big corporations. So it's real deep.
Yeah, go ahead and run it.
All right.
So while Major's pulling that up, oh, he got it. That was quick. All right, you Johnny on the spot. Let's go.
I'm gonna just Andy Scholar, he's staunch conservative, right? He's dead now, right? I think he's dead. Well, Walmart, I just want to read an excerpt, right? Synopsis from it. Walmart stores INC versus Dukes 2011. In an employment discrimination class action, the conceptual gap between an individual's discrimination claim and existence of a class action of persons, a person who have suffered the same injury must be bridged by significant proof that an employer operated under a general policy of discrimination. More importantly, a class in a proposed class action has common question of law of fact if their claims depend on a common contention of such a nature that it is capable of class-wide resolution, which means that the determination of its truth of falsity will resolve in the issue that is central to the validity of each of the claims in one stroke. Now, when you read this, right, he's saying a whole lot of stuff. But what I seen They took. If you go back, now let me do my thing. If you go back, right? Let's go back. You can go back in the 40s and all. We're gonna go back, right? And we're gonna look at and I'm sorry because I don't hold you up, but you go back. I'm just generalizing. We go back when he was making discrimination. I mean, making cases back in the 40s, 44, 39. A lot of these cases, right, in general, it's not per se probably. My thing is this, right? When you look at the interpretation of discrimination, right, then, and you fast forward to now, they didn't water it down and made it so hard to prove, like he was trying to say, a class of people, which means a group of people that say discriminated because of, let's say, their race, they have to prove X, Y, Z, and then X, Y, Z, and with a D with it, and then it can be discrimination, which make it extremely hard. And anybody know about when you're going at these big companies about discrimination and all that, it is so hard to prove, you know. And in this whole synopsis of this whole case and the way he was explaining it, he made it larger than life. And I could talk about, like, I could use my case, for instance, right? In Louisiana, when I got convicted in 1987, I was like 17 years old. I know I was 18. I got 17. I was arrested. I got 18. Well, a young guy, it's crazy. This is crazy. It's a real story. This guy here, we grew up together. You know what I'm saying? And I ain't gonna lie to you, I never seen nobody steal a car by themselves and just break the steering wheel. He did it by himself. It don't take two of us to do it, right? So we was impressed. We used to smoke clickums a lot. He just get like, just lose his brain, right? Well, he did something horrendous, something crazy on Desire Influence. I'll never forget, by the bus stop. He was 19. He killed the highest a guy in college, right? Robbed him and killed him, shot him dead. They put him on death row, right? Well, anyway, in his case, and I'm giving y'all the backstory. I knew this dude, you know, personally. We kind of like ran a group of the same project. And his case had went Supreme Court in Louisiana. Guess what he was doing? They was giving out, and I'm gonna show y'all what I'm saying, because two different things I'm trying to show. They were saying that for the come with doubt, they were saying grave uncertainty, moral uncertainty. They expressed it was a violation of 14th Amendment. He got it overturned, right? He got off death row. Well, it was denying everybody. I found my own case and I wound up winning in the Eastern District. And look, they sent a white lady to me, right? They were like, look, the judge, like how you did this. This is real talk. The judge, how you wrote that brief and you know that habeas corpus and blah blah blah. But they said, Major, we can't let you win. It'll open the floodgate, right? And to make a long story short, they want to deny it. But my whole point was, guess what now? And nobody can file on that. They didn't mess it up so bad, whereas here it's supposed to be unconstitutional to tell a jury a reasonable doubt is reasonable doubt. It just if you have any kind of doubt, and the state haven't proved their case beyond reasonable doubt, in Jackson versus Virginia, it's supposed to go to the defendant, supposed to find them guilty or guilty of a lesser included charge. But guess what they did? They watered it down and closed it down, and the people that suffer from it, they stopped it, you know. But all the people like myself, we never benefited from it. Only this one guy who I grew up with that committed murder and went on death row and wound up getting life after he had wound up beating him. But I'm saying about discrimination too. Like once there's a situation whereas there's a floodgate where that can happen, whereas black people come together and file class actions, most of the time they're gonna close that door on it, you know, especially if somebody do win, you know what I'm saying? They're gonna water it down and make it hard. And that's all they did, they made it hard. And right now you have people that's being discriminated in large fashion because of, you know, the ethnic group, and these corporations getting away with it, and the courts are holding it.
Well, I want to bring in out two special guests that we have on. So, Amber, tell us about AJ. Tell us about your situation and what you got going on. AJ, you there? All right. Lady Justice, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. I'm not sure what happened to my avatar, but I'm here.
Okay, so yeah, go ahead and tell us about what you got going on. While we wait for AJ to come back in.
Well, just to kind of summarize a situation, I would say the same way when we speak about workplace discrimination, I think we also need to think about the whole hiring process of even applying for a position. And because a lot of times they make you think that you have to be actually fully employed to be discriminated against and discriminated against on the job. But I think it also applies to when you are qualified for a position, and because of their and the way when they think of us as that belligerent and angry Black person or Black woman, because they know you're going to be vocal about issues that are related to that employment, it's almost like because of that aspect of yourself, you're denied the opportunity to be employed because of you being passionate about accountability. Like if we can't expect the people who are running these corporations to follow the guidelines that establish the corporations, then how can we hold anybody else accountable? And if we're denying people access to jobs just because of them going to hold us accountable, I think that is a form of discrimination. And that was kind of what I experienced. I was told that because of my advocacy work, I was seen as competition to some of the organizations that I had applied at. And to me, even though they made it sound good, like, oh, well, you're doing such great work, we may be competing for funding. To me, you still denied me access to earn money to pay my bills. Like I would not. I think for us to be all working on a common goal or common interest as far as to address homelessness, I don't think we should be seeing each other as competition at all. And I think that was just an excuse. And so again, that's another way for them to discriminate without being, putting it out there point blank that they're discriminating. So yeah, that's the summary of my situation.
Can I say that they do, and I agree with you, Lady Justice, they do discriminate in recruitment practices, especially if you have a non-English or a non-European sounding name. That's a common feature where they recruit, because automatically I've understood, I've never seen this, but I've heard that automatically that dispars you. They will get rid of the application form. And also what they've been found out doing here is marking, because they use like a scoring sheet in recruitment. Do they do the same in the US?
I'm not sure what they do, but I know that in this situation,
Hey, my brother.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm already
So what they do is when they're scoring, they'll score you lower than the people that they actually want in the position. And then when you go to get feedback, you get the runaround. So yes, the recruitment.
Exactly.
The recruitment system, yes, it actually starts from there. You're right, Lady Justice. It does start from there, and it seems as if it's similar to what happens here. I thought the US was more progressive than here because you've had longer discrimination laws in place, but it seems as if I'm hearing what goes on there goes on here.
I'm gonna be frank about it. We are so used to it. We see it every day on our job. Some of us been there for so long. Like when I work for this company, like, and they hired a white guy, right? Everybody else got to move on position to get the lane they got. This white guy complained at one time they gave him the lane he wanted, right? And you see it, and I'm like, I was about to get, I was cool my lane, but I was so upset knowing people that came before me have been there longer. It went off of seniority, right? But that didn't matter when it came to this white guy. So we see this all the time. All of us, we just let it go our head, because what we gonna do about it? You complain, you're doing a retaliation thing. I was doing research on a retaliation thing. They are trying to justify or giving employers excuse for firing somebody for firing somebody due to retaliation because that person called them out on something, or filed a complaint or what have you. They didn't take action about some kind of discrimination, and whether it's against females, ethnic groups, what have you. They'll mess around, find reason to file. You know what I'm saying? And then when they go file a lawsuit, the courts find reason not to even grant or reward the person who's complaining, the plaintiff. So it's crazy. We see it all the time. It's like, what we gonna do about it? It's hard.
Again, I'm working in a role where I have seen it played out over the last, say, 4 or 5 months, where certain people who were Black should have got the roles, but the roles were given to white members of staff. So I've actually seen that. And of course, what can you do? Because if you create a fuss, they'll either say you're jealous or you're upset because you didn't get the role. They'll make up some excuse as to why you didn't actually come up to par. And then they'll start victimizing you. So there's laws here against victimization, but they do it anyway.
We got to also think about the Obama syndrome. You know what I'm saying? I hate to say it like that, but ever since we had a Black, they feel like as soon as we get a Black president, whether over the United States or over universe or whatever, right? Or a corporation, you should be happy. While you got millions of people being discriminated against, that's complaining about it. And the research that Cody has shared, I don't know if I even know this, right? They say out of every 4 people, melanated people in America, one of them complain about discrimination. That is large in percentage. Out of every 4 Black people that in the states that work in corporate, I'm saying in these American companies, every 4 person that's Black, one of them complaining about discrimination. That's deep. That's huge in percentage too.
Well, in the UK, an article 2 years old, it is 2 years old. No, it's just under 2 years old. More than 120,000 workers left their jobs because of racism. Now, I can't say it's strictly Black because Britain has a very wide interpretation. So they call people who are not white minority ethnic people. So everybody's commingled, but 120,000 people quit their jobs because they experienced racism.
They're Hispanics, they experience it as well as in women. But y'all will hear something that they're gonna really make y'all kind of trip about. Eddie Jordan, the guy who brought down the great Marcellus, what his name is? Marcellus. He was big time US attorney, right? He brought down Marcellus crime boss, right? Well, while he became DA in New Orleans, he was the first Black DA, right? After this horrible, despicable DA, Harry Kine, that sent so many melanated people to state prisons, right? He fired everybody white in office, and guess what? They hit him with discrimination, white people. And they kicked him out of office. It was crazy, man. I mean, he went there and just fired all the white people, right? And he probably was year 2, remember that, Cody? And then went at him with discrimination. The white folks went, and they took him down, you know what I'm saying? But because he was a Black person, that had been a white person, they would have did that.
So I'm anxious to hear what Amber has to say because we haven't heard from her in a while. Amber, you still with us?
I am still here. I had some problems with the mic. Apologize. In my experience, it is the angry Black woman syndrome. I think that most intelligent Black women who are at their best in their profession are treated as if their personalities dictate their professionalism. In my case, you can be the top performer, you can have the best numbers. If you know more than your white counterpart, you will be deemed a certain way, whether it's intimidation, or it's just a lack of respect. They can change that narrative with the EEOC changes and initiatives. They don't have enough staff, even if you do go file a complaint beyond your HR department, to really provide you the support you need to go fully. So you're put in a position of your job or just taking that treatment. There's no other option.
And in Texas is a right to work state, so that means that they can fire you for any reason. They don't even have to give you a reason, to be honest with you. They could just say your services are no longer needed, and then you have to go, like you say, AJ, go down there and file a complaint with EEOC, but then in the meantime your family is not eating. It's just crazy to think that still today that we're talking about this. Like in Jimele says, like I wanted to share something with Jimele, and they're just now going to over there in the UK, the Labour Party. And Jimele, I'm gonna share this article with you, and so you can help us understand what's going on in the UK. Can y'all see that?
Okay, hold on.
Yes.
Let me make it bigger. Okay, so it says here they set out a new proposal to change discrimination law, including the idea of extending equal pay claims to cover ethnicity and disability. So, in Jimele, tell us, who is the Labour Party? And my second thing is, I thought that this was already a law over there in the UK.
Well, the Labour Party is the equivalent to your Democrats, and they're going to change the discrimination laws to extend it to equal pay claims relating to ethnicity. So that will mean to ethnic minorities and disability, or disability is if you've got, you've got like asthma or something like that, that's classed as a disability. And if it affects the way that you work, your employer has to take it into account and make reasonable adjustments. So they're saying this is likely to make employment claims much more complex and costly. Well, of course they would. Right now, employment claims, you can't get legal aid for that. I don't know. Do you have public funding over there where you get money to take cases?
What do you mean, against your employer?
Yeah. So if you've got a claim against your employer, are you able to get well, we call it legal aid or public funding here. Are you able to get that?
There are some pro bono outfits firms here, but you have to go and seek them out yourself. Perhaps EEOC will direct you to those firms, but as far as the government giving you legal aid funds, no, that's not happening.
Right. So here for employment, for some cases in England, you can get what's called public funding. The government will pay you to take a case. For employment tribunals, you don't get that. And also, you don't have to pay to start a claim, but they're hoping to change that. And so what it seems they're doing here is they're going to extend it so that equal pay claims, so for instance, equal pay for now is between men and women. So they're going to now make it between ethnic minority and the major Europeans. That's what it seems to be saying here.
So now if you have a claim against your employer, you can now file a racial discrimination claim.
You can file a racial discrimination claim anyway. What you couldn't do was bring, from my understanding, is race into equal pay claims. It was just men and women. And what Labour is saying is they're going to extend the equal pay claim to those people who are an ethnic minority.
Oh, I got you. You. So I guess there is pay disparity as well.
There is pay disparity. There is pay disparity. And we all know that. We know some okay, I'll give you an example. I worked in a local authority where all the chief lawyer or the principal lawyers were on a particular rate. They brought in this white person who was ANZAC. I'll go no further. I'll explain what ANZAC is in a moment. And she wasn't even fully qualified in the UK. They put her on probation for a year and paid her more than the qualified black staff that were there already. Yeah. And that was blatant. That was blatant. And people, but again, what the black staff did, no one actually challenged it. They knew about it and everybody kept their heads down.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so were there any people of color in a position to help make that decision to terminate her?
Well, they didn't terminate her. What they did was, on the recruitment panel, the head of the recruitment panel was an ANZAC like herself. So he was doing for his own people. So when I talk about ANZAC, I talk about people from Australia and New Zealand. They're one of the Commonwealth countries, and they're happy for them to come here, and they're happy to give them senior roles, not so much for people from Black Commonwealth countries.
Wow.
So is that similar to the good old boy system here?
Well, I've got our good old boy system goes even deeper, because it's not only white, it depends on whether you went to particular private schools, and it's who you know. I know that operates there, but we've got like a cohort. We've got 2 or 3 top private schools, and you'll find that most of the CEOs and most of the people in senior positions have gone to these schools. So we call it the school tie, as well as the old boys network, we call it the school tie network.
I agree with you. And I think that's kind of what I was saying when it comes to how the DEI is, they're kind of focusing on the fraternities. And if you are part of certain groups, then you get access to certain positions. And it eventually like leaves everybody else out because you did not go through that specific channel. You know what I'm saying? Or you didn't graduate from a specific school, so you don't get access to these things. But I think it kind of it has a counterproductive effect because you're saying you're trying to include the other races, but you're like picking a specific class of those people, so you're still discriminating in a sense. But yeah,
and they always do that. They always discriminate. Again, they say they want to be inclusive, but as I say, action speaks louder than words. So you can have words, but it's your actions that are really important. And for me, a lot of the actions that I see in the UK goes absolutely contrary to the words that are being spoken.
So what do we do as a community to fix, to change the dynamic? Do we do a mass exodus from their corporate world? AJ, what do you think? We all just leave their corporate world and seek Black employment?
I love that idea. However, that is not realistic. We have to, deal with the situation for what it is. I think a very personal choice whether to stay in a hostile environment versus seeking entrepreneurship in a company that values diversity. I think it comes down to, like you said, eat. If you make certain moves that will put you in certain financial situations. At the end of the day, corporate companies do not care if we eat. Bottom line is they don't care how much savings you have in the bank. Their goal is not to make you a millionaire. It's to make them a millionaire. So if there's more of a collective, more of a Black Wall Street as a community, I think that's how we can start having other opportunities for us to go into.
Well said. Well said. And I know, Major, you said you had to leave in a few. You want to give your last words on the subject?
As far as the massive or the mass exodus, um, somewhere down the line we just lost focus, in my opinion. And the reason why I don't think it'll work because for so much it's so programmed, and a lot of us are running behind them titles, running behind we believe big money corporate America. But if we was to actually start investing in our community, and I'm not just talking about poor communities, just talking about you got middle class communities as well, as well as finding opportunity to manufacture and create, you know what I'm saying? Like China got this massive movement, at first it was Japan, now it's China. And both of these people's like people like us, you know what I'm saying? On different levels. We know about World War II. We know about World War I and II with China as well as World War I with Japan, and how they bounced back. And with us as a community, we have yet to really tune on we best at. We was talking about we could take over the music game and what have you. We could have took over a lot, you know what I'm saying? I just think that the mindset that we always talk about is the biggest problem. If we was to invest in each other and we be fair with fair wage or whatnot, or fair partnership through investment groups, through massive movements in our community, we'd be surprised how much we can create employment, how much we can be able to invest in banking, hospitals, school, manufacturing, production, grocery stores, beauty, beauty stores, what have you. But we just don't have that mindset. A lot of us are really in the mindset of want to be bling bling. We have the big pretty house, want the nice cars and what have you. Want to, you know, I don't know. I mean, being in our own bubble and not realize it's gonna take a group effort, and we just not there. But I do believe that corporate America is not the way for us. You know what I'm saying? It can probably be a start for some people, but it's not the way. If you're not leaning towards ownership, you're not leaning towards community building, it's kind of hard to navigate through all the nonsense because there's a lot of nonsense. Because whatever we fought for, they're taking all that back, and we still at this point fighting among each other, trying to decide what we should do. And that's just at this point is a no-brainer. We got to do something to make each other better and look like we and don't run. There's progress, but it's not on a mass scale like it should be. But I don't believe in the mass exodus, but I do believe that we got to take our faith from out the system and put it within ourselves. Bet on yourself.
Well, can I say that personally, I'm I don't think like AJ that a mass exodus is realistic. But again, Britain was built on the back of my ancestors, and up until 2015, our taxes were helping to pay back the slave owners because the British government promised to pay them back for releasing the slaves. So mass exodus, no. I think I deserve what I get here. However, yes, I agree 100% with Major that we should be starting to build in our communities. Now, one thing, I don't know about America, but I know in UK, Black people, everyone else sells Black people to Black people. Black people don't sell to themselves. We don't support each other, and we're not unified. So you will try to start something and you'll have a group calling you down. And until we get that level of unity, I don't think we will progress. But again, as Major says, it is the mindset. And not all of us have the mindset to community build, unfortunately.
Can I add something else? Everybody else is doing it. Everybody else is doing it. Why are we not? And I'm not saying there isn't many people that's investing in the community, because there are many of them, but it's not on a massive scale. You know what I'm saying? And I really believe, just like you have the Chinatowns, you got the Italians, you got the Irish, we should have something going on. You know what I'm saying? And we should have some type of leadership we can turn to. They're gonna set examples. They're gonna keep things in order and whatnot. And look like everybody just taking positions, they holding their own, and cool with how things are, even though they complain and talk about it and turning out different things. But the organize, mobilize people to take action, seems like we just taking forever to do that.
But that's because we've bought into, sorry, I don't want to take up all the time, but that's because we've bought into individualism. Individualism is not in our nature. And also, I live in a heavily Hasidic Jewish community, and you see how they work together. And I'll give you an example of how, if there's a green light and there are members of their community that want to cross, they will stop at a green light to let them cross. Now that is community. We just don't have that. Yes, there are pockets, but like them that have it across the board, we need to have it across the board.
And you know what's so crazy? It's not like we never had this. We had this at one time. We had predominant black towns where we was boarding and trading and spending with each other. We had the banks, we had the hospital, we had the different businesses and whatnot that catered our people, because we know how it was, and we was literally forced to. It was cool. We had no problem with the fact that y'all the ones come over tracks, don't come over by us. We good. We gonna operate like that. And now I think we had this burn desire, just want to show white people we not like them. We're not like the other Negroes. We the cool ones. And all the while we're looking at all us the same, but in our mind, because he high laughing with us, that did deceiving us, believing it's all good. You know what I'm saying? And it's sad that we are raise our young people, which is our children, even our great grandchildren, are going to be watching us and saying that we really dropping the ball. And if we don't set the president example for them, how you expect they're going to be, when their kids and few generations come underneath them and say they're not coming together. And it's sad because this is a common discussion in our community as well as other communities that's making fun of us because we not united.
Lady Justice?
Yeah, I agree with what everyone is saying. I really feel like the individualism is the main problem. But I also think that we say we don't want to be like them, but yet we really trying to be like them. The things that they are selling to us, we're buying, and that's causing us to ignore the things that we should be focusing on, such as the homeless population, because we are represented disproportionately within that population. And so instead of waiting on the government to fix what is affecting us the most, I feel like it should be more of us coming together to create back in the day, we used to have the boarding houses where people would rent the rooms out and have people that they knew, oh, he's not quite right, but he just needs somebody to kind of look after him a little bit. We didn't just leave it up for the government to fix everything. We took on those roles. And I think because of everybody looking out for self, we don't see that as much anymore. And I think that if we did start coming together and building coalitions, we could be more of an asset and to address those issues.
Can I say, Lady Justice, when the Caribbean people first came to the UK, they were met with signs: no Irish, no blacks, no dogs. And what used to happen is one would buy a house, and then all the other islanders who came, they would be able to get a room in that house. And what would happen is they would share rooms. So those who worked in the day would go out, those who worked in the night would have that room. That's the kind of community that we had when we came here, when my parents came here, because of the hostility they faced. We don't have that anymore, unfortunately. I was telling Major and Akoti a few weeks back that, again, when we first came here, when our families first came here, banks wouldn't loan them any money, and they set up their own banking system. All of that is now dying out due to individualism and the community. And in fact, as you say, no one was homeless because there was always a room that you could catch in, as we say, that you could lay your head in and someone would look out for you. All of that now has gone, unfortunately.
Well, ladies, Major had to dip out, and that was a great point in Jimmy. So, like, I kind of want to switch gears at this point to talk about solutions. And for those who are listening, we thank you for tuning in to Concerned Voices podcast. We're talking about white is right, the return of Jim Crow, workplace discrimination, and Black America. Give us a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe and share the video. Want to switch gears, and I want to speak with AJ about steps one can take if they feel like they're being discriminated against at the workplace. What can they do? What kind of steps have you taken?
Well, I think generally speaking, they want you to follow the normal processes of going through your HR. However, you need to keep in mind HR works for the company. They are in the position of defending the company. So be careful with that process. And thereafter, if you're not getting the proper response or a difference with your employer, you do have the EEOC channel, private attorney channel, if you want to pursue it further. I think that, once you ring a bell of alarm, you will be targeted. Although you're not supposed to have any type of retaliation, you need to know by nature that kind of comes with that type of complaint. So just have some type of career path in place, whether that's looking for another job, because it's quite easier to change your job than to change the employer.
And Lady Justice, can you add anything to that based on your experience?
Just that, yes, be prepared for retaliation. Anytime you speak up against the status quo or, the injustices that you're experiencing, because it is inbred in the system, you're going to get pushback. So be prepared for that. At the end of the day, I think we do need to start trying to figure out how we can become self-employed or find other employers that respect us in the ways that we need to be respected. Other than that, it's a constant battle because it's still here. It's still alive.
And then, Sister Njimale, I know that you work in some type of legal capacity over in the UK. What can you tell the listening audience they would need in order to approach an outfit such as an EEOC, Equal Opportunity Commission, is what that means?
Right. So here, what would happen, I'll just quickly go through the procedure. So you'd go to HR, but I have to be honest, I found most HR departments useless. And as AJ has said, they work for the company. So they're there basically to defend the company. Here you can raise what's called the grievance procedure. So you can have an investigation into a grievance that you've raised. Outside of that, you can go to our Equality and Human Rights Commission, or you can go to a lawyer, a solicitor, and take a case to the tribunal, the first year employment tribunal. But then again, that's very difficult because the employer's kind of a heavyweight will come with a massive suite of lawyers, and you may be just a claimant who's, you may have the moral high ground, but do you have the legal high ground? So very difficult, very stressful, because I've known people that's gone through it. But, just follow your procedure, document. It's important to document. And if you feel like something's going on like that, make sure everything is in an email. If you're given or something is said to you, you draft it in an email, cut out the verbal stuff, because you'll find that when people get into tribunals, all of a sudden they have memory loss. They can't recall anything.
And that was well said. And Jimmy, the only thing I could add to that is to, when in the process of documenting, make sure that you notate your witnesses, whoever was there, who witnessed the conversation, and things of that nature. That's very important as well.
Koti, can I say that what usually happens is when you'll have your witnesses, but some of them will run for the hills because they're protecting their position. So, and some you'll call and they will turn on you on the witness stand. I've also heard of that happening. So you've got to be very, very careful as to whom you ask to be witnesses to whatever you're claiming.
Roger that. Roger that. So, did anybody else want to add anything else to the discussion? All right, here and there's none. I want to say thank you to our special guests, Lady Justice and AJ. You ladies were a blessing to the podcast today. And if you want to go ahead and give your closing remarks, we'll go ahead and end with that. Lady Justice, you go first.
I just want to thank you for having me on the panel. I think this was a very needed conversation, just so that people can start having the conversation openly and together to know that they're not imagining this. This is still going on, and you need to speak up for yourself, because if you don't, who will? So I just want to thank everybody, and it's been a pleasure. I learned so much. And so I'm turning back the mic over.
Thank you so much, Lady Justice, and thank you for your input on the podcast tonight. AJ, what's your last words?
Thank you for having me on the show. I've enjoyed it thoroughly. They call it a fight for a reason. You get tired. You know, sometimes you don't think that there is a solution out there, but I do think that having discussions, having the awareness does lead to solutions. So podcasts like this are always helpful and beneficial to our community. And thank you for having me.
Thank you, my sister. And of course, you know, you're always welcome back at any time. Thank you for your input. Powerful, powerful. So until next time, my sister, we'll talk. Be blessed, my sister.
Thank you. Be blessed.
Miss Njimale.
Hey, Akoti. That was a powerful discussion. And thank you for getting that information on the UK, because I hadn't even seen that. Thank you so much. So yes, there's changes afoot, but that's if Labour gets in. And that's not a shoo-in, actually. But just wanted to close and say thank you very, very much for having me, as always. Interesting discussion. And it's sad that in 2024, we have to have such a discussion. And it appears as if what's going on over here is going over across the pond, as they say. And it feels to me like no matter where you are, if you are Black and you're in like a Western society, you are having the same problems, the same microaggressions. And, you know, how do you look after your mental health when you, as one of the sisters referred to, as you have this continual fight? How do you? Sad, extremely sad, but a well-needed conversation. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, my sister. And as always, family, for those of us at Concerned Voices Podcast, we thank you for watching. We thank you for tuning in. Please like and share the video if you have not subscribed. And until next Saturday, we love you all with the love of Yahuwah. Take care of yourself and each other, and be blessed. Shalom.
Yet is so many things I want to talk about. See as my people just stay suffer now. My country bad and my country harder now. Nowhere to go and there's nowhere to run. But I no go mind, I go put my grind on my mind. I no go fear, I go try make I dey my lane. No. Cause my brother say water no get enemy. So I no one get the enemy. And I go flow like the river. Yeah. It doesn't matter what you're feeling. It doesn't doesn't matter what my brother see.